Ladies and gents, boys and girls, happy Thursday, happy game day, by the way. Thursday, March the 30th, 2023. Hope you're all doing well. Chris Phillips here, your host of the Daily Crow of the Spurs Up Show. And yes, happy opening day as well as Major League Baseball gets underway. And all my Bravos fans out there, 1:05 first pitch against the Washington Nationals. But opening day, man, should be probably a national holiday, but that's a story for another day. I see Noah Johns, John Edward, Travi, C. Youngblood, Alex Mitchum, Brandon Ward, my guy GA, Todd Smith. What is up? Also, those in the Big Cock Club Discord, over the TDC Questions channel, the TDC Questions channel, to be sure your questions are answered there. Hunter, I see you as well, my friend. Really excited to chat today. Again, we got a lot going on. This is really, truly the start of a big weekend in Gamecocks athletics and a big weekend for TSUS as well. Guys, as always, TSUS and TDC brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Go download the Prize Picks app, go to prizepicks.com, and when you do, use that promo code TSUS to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Guys, you can play anything and everything, college sports, pro sports, anything you can think of, anything you can name, they've got it over at Prize Picks. Also, of course, guys, MLB, get your picks in with Prize Picks today. College baseball as well, they do that. MLB, NBA, whatever you want to play, they have got it. Golf as well, with Masters Week upcoming next week. So again, that is our friends at Prize Picks. Go download the Prize Picks app, go to prizepicks.com, and when you do, use the promo code TSUS to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Be sure to check them out and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. Again, really excited to be chatting today, guys. Taking your questions, comments, calls, as always, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. And, of course, the big news that dropped late last night, if you will, or late yesterday. Eli Jones getting the start tonight. Will Sanders has been bumped out of the weekend rotation, and now we await and see how that plays out for the Yardcocks. I see Mike saying, guess that, quote, rumor was factual. Sanders out. Yeah, per sources sometimes is correct, Mike, and sure enough, that was the case this time. Eli Jones will be going tonight for the Yardcocks. Guys, I gave my thoughts on what I would do and how I would handle the starting rotation, but I'm excited to see Eli Jones spin the baseball. He's been good for South Carolina this year, and I was just talking with the guys on Inside the Gamecocks. Shout out to them. Of course, guys, we will have J.C. Sherbert on the show at 1:15, so stick around for that and get your questions in this first hour, because JC will take up most of that second hour. But just a wildly fascinating storyline. I mean, it really is, for a team that's 24-2, off to their best start in school history, and 6-0 in SEC play. It is a wildly fascinating situation to think of where South Carolina is right now and what they are battling and enduring, I guess you could say. So it's just, to think about that. What it really goes to show, and I'll tell you this, the positive spin is this. And I don't even know if I've got to label it the positive spin. It's just the reality. The reality is this, guys. When you're at a school like South Carolina, and I've talked to guys that played on the 10, 11, 12 teams, right, the greatest teams in school history. I've talked to guys that pitched on those teams, and they would tell you, they'd say, Chris, listen, the pressure's on. Because if you have one bad outing, you might not pitch again for 30 games. You may not pitch again the rest of the season, because there's so many quality guys that are waiting in the wings. There's so many studs that are behind you. And I think that's what you're seeing right here. Listen, if we didn't have any other options, then we wouldn't be going to someone else, but we do. That's the thing. We've got quality arms. We've got quality guys. Austin Greer says it's really not that big of a deal. Let's not overreact. Sanders had some say in the decision as well. Austin, I cannot wrap my brain around that Will Sanders wanted to take the weekend off. I cannot wrap my brain around that Will Sanders did not want to pitch this weekend. And Austin, if he didn't, that tells me everything I need to know, and he should not be back in the weekend rotation the rest of this season. Like if that's truly where he's at, if you're a guy that doesn't want to go out there and battle and take the bait, you should have to rip the baseball out of his hand. Like, truly. You should have to rip the baseball out of his hand. So I don't know that I agree with you that he was just like, man, I really need a weekend off. Just please take me out of the starting rotation. I get what you're saying, that obviously they had a conversation and they came to an agreement of what's best for him. And I'm sure he was like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. But, we'll see. Will he pitch out of the bullpen? Does he really, truly just get the weekend off? I have no idea. I'd be very intrigued to see him out of the bullpen. I have no clue. But here's the thing, guys. Long term, I don't think Eli Jones is your game one guy. I don't see that. It's kind of interesting that maybe you'd think if anybody was going to get that spot, it would be James Hicks with the way he's pitched the baseball. But again, it's just a wildly fascinating storyline because I think that you're going to win either way this week, and I really do feel confident. I picked the Yardcocks to sweep. I think they will sweep. But it's just long term. You know what I mean? What do they do long term? And especially you think about next weekend. You got LSU. I mean, will you go Jones, Hall, Mahoney again? Do you move up Hall and Mahoney and slide Will Sanders to game 3? Do you move Eli Jones to game 3? It's just really intriguing. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it could be the best thing that ever happened, and Will Sanders could respond the right way. And it's just he gets that mental reset he needs. And Mark Kingston and company prove they continue to push all the right buttons, or it could not go exactly how they want. But I think the good news is if it doesn't go how they want this weekend, you still should be able to win. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, again, when you're 24-2 and 6-0, your coach can kind of do whatever he wants. I gave my opinion on what I would do, but I'm not a college baseball coach. I'm not the head baseball coach at the University of South Carolina. And also, I will say this, Mark Kingston knows Will Sanders and what Will Sanders needs better than any of us because he's actually in the locker room with this kid. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm wildly intrigued to see. Austin says, just don't see the point about stressing about it. Sanders will obviously be back in the starter role next week. Will he, though? Austin? I don't know. I don't know if it's that no-brainer. I don't know. I don't know. Again, wildly intriguing. 843-790-3377. Todd Smith says, by the way, Chris, great podcast this morning. Thank you, Todd. I really appreciate that. Definitely, guys, go check out the podcast if you have not done so. Episode 771, a full breakdown of this weekend series, and also Braden Gall of Fringe Element, which is an SEC football podcast. He's the owner of 440 Sports. He's done work with Athlon Sports, ESPN Radio. I think he's hosted Paul Feinbaum a couple of times, which somebody told me. So a big-time get for us. Braden was absolutely incredible and a great conversation. It was all South Carolina football. It was all SEC football, stuff like that. And I'm going to post a clip here probably after this show that I think you guys are going to probably feel some type of way about, because Braden Gall right now says he would take on the over-under, if the over-under's 8, which Michael Bratton posed a hypothetical over-under of 8 wins. Braden Gall would take the under. He's got 7-5 for South Carolina. He broke down his SEC East for me. He's got Kentucky finishing ahead of the Gamecocks in the SEC East this season. So, listen, everybody's entitled to prediction. We shall see. But really, really interesting stuff. I mean, Braden carries a great conversation, knows what he's talking about, and truly great for him coming on the show. So, Austin, I don't see it as being benched due to performance. I really think Sanders needs time to relax and work some from the bullpen, get the confidence up, and then start again, kind of like in the pros. And you might be right, Austin. You might be right. My only thing is this. A great pitcher is just like a great hitter, where you don't get out of a slump on the bench. You just don't. You don't get out of a slump by sitting on the bench and going and hitting in the cage or pitching in the bullpen. You get out of a slump by doing it on the field. So I understand what you're saying, like just hey, let's just take a step back. Let's take a deep breath. Let's just change something up to get you out of this rhythm of not performing to the level that you know you're capable of, and we know you're capable of. But game action is how you get out of a slump. So I definitely think Will Sanders not pitching at all is not the move. Get him out there, out of the bullpen. Will it be tonight? Will it be tomorrow night? Will it be on Saturday? Who knows when they do it? But I definitely think he needs to go out there. But let me ask you this, though, then, Austin. Like, if he goes out there and balls out, well, then I think the narrative is going to be, well, he needs to just be a reliever. So that was my point yesterday. When I said, how does Will Sanders win his job back? Like, I don't even know what he has to do to win the job back. Or is it just one of those things where, hey, Will, you're still our ace. We're just trying to get you kind of going, and we're going to put you back in that one spot as soon as, you know, we get the next weekend. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Jacob B, it looks like the bench did some good for Evan Stone, though. I mean, listen, sometimes, you got multiple dudes that can play, right? You got multiple dudes that can play. But, for example, like a guy like Wes Clark in 2021, people wanted him benched, and it's like, he's not going to get it going by taking 5 games off. Like, but you got to know your dudes, Jacob. To your point, there are some guys that maybe a night off helps them. Heck, I don't know. Maybe a night off does help them. I mean, you never really know. But, I mean, I just think most of your guys, like, you're not, for example, your cornerstone pieces, you're not going to bench Braylon Wimmer if he has a bad weekend or a bad week, right? Or a bad 2 weeks even. You're going to let him work through a slump. Like, there's just certain guys that, like, you've got to let them work through the slump. So, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Again, Mark Kingston and company, they've pushed all the right buttons. They have done everything correctly. I mean, the best start in school history. Need I say more, right? Need I say more? Brian Dean, moving to the football side of things. I don't see the hype with Garrett Riley. Shane worked with Lincoln Riley. I saw Garrett Riley's offense in the national title game against Georgia. Wasn't impressed at all. Go ahead and predict Spencer Rattler will be the most efficient passer in the SEC. 27 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 4,098 yards passing. My God, I will sign up for that. If Spencer Rattler, Brian Dean, does that, we're winning 10 games. If he throws for 4,000 yards, we're winning 10 games. No question. I will say this, Brian, to your Garrett Riley comment. I think judging Garrett Riley off of one game, a.k.a. the national championship against Georgia, against the Georgia defense, I don't know that is – I don't know. I don't know that I would do that necessarily. So, anyways, let's see. I don't think they have college football futures or anything yet. I cannot wait till that comes out. I remember last year, our guy, the Queen Slayer Chase in the Discord, old Slapdick Chase, he was giving me hell all season last year because I told everybody to hammer the over on Spencer Rattler passing yards. And sure enough, he hit it, but Chase did not think he was going to. It didn't look like he was going to be fair. But old Slapdick Chase was giving me hell over the Prize Picks, and sure enough, he won money. So how about it? How about that? Anyways, guys, MLB opening day is upon us. MLB opening day is upon us. Really excited. I'm almost tempted to put some money in Prize Picks and play a little bit. How about that? I think I will later today, no matter what, because you got PGA Tour here, everything. Yeah, everything. I haven't been playing, honestly, guys, a ton. So, let's see. The Braves, Ozzie Albies, total bases, 1.5. I think he's the only guy listed there. Max Fried, over under 1.5 earned runs allowed. Interesting. Got some intriguing numbers in there. Will Hall says, I hope Jones will settle in. He's put up great numbers. Hate it for Sanders. We'll see what happens. I mean, again, I think Eli Jones will pitch well. Eli Jones is a quality arm. I'm not really overly concerned. Like, I don't think he's going to go out there and get shelled this weekend or tonight, if you will. I think he'll pitch well. I think he will pitch well. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Again, a great podcast dropped this morning, episode 771. And guys, let me say, if you are not subscribed on iTunes, be sure to go subscribe. Leave us a rating, 5 stars preferably. But if you have any feedback, any thoughts, anything, please go do that. So again, it's the Spurs Up Show. I know that all you already know, but the Spurs Up Show on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, we're all over. Also, of course, in case you missed it, the Daily Crow drops every day in audio form. At 3 o'clock after the fact, right? Drops every day in audio form after the fact at 3 o'clock. It drops on that same podcast feed. So it's under the Spurs Up Show, right? So go check that out again. iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. Be sure you're following us everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I don't really say these things anymore because of the point we're at in business, but I feel like it's necessary. So again, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube as well. Go subscribe to our YouTube. And we're also on TikTok as well. You can follow us there. So a lot of great stuff. And I appreciate y'all's love and support on social media, man. Social media is an absolute blast these days. Chase Youngblood's the Hat News Prize Picks in a couple months, logged in today to a free entry. How about that, Chase? Love to see that. Love to see that. Let's see. Okay, Chase has got Aaron Judge over half total bases. Max Fried and Patrick Corbin less than half first inning runs allowed. So he's got a shutout in the first inning. Got a bunch of stuff. What's the payout on that, Chase? What's the payout? What's the payout? Excuse me. Austin Greer says Braves are minus 410 to win the series this weekend. How about that? Minus 410. Guys, so I want to get your thoughts on this. Mark Ryan texted me, and I'm assuming he's talking about this on his show today. And I want to bring you guys, loop you all in on this. Mark Ryan asked me, could you give me your opinion on the hierarchy of sports at South Carolina? I imagine it's football, baseball, women's basketball as the top three in that order. Do you agree? And if so, what would be 4 and 5? So what are you guys' thoughts? Ranking the top 5. What is the hierarchy of sports at South Carolina? 1 is definitely football, right? 1's definitely football. I think 2 is baseball. What do y'all think? I think 2 is indeed baseball. I would say 3 is women's basketball because of how good we are, and the fan interest there. I think I think 4 is men's basketball. I think it falls right behind. What is 5? Is there a 5th sport that we really tune into that I don't know that we've got some really good teams. Like tennis is fantastic. Men's and women's golf both do really well. I mean, obviously equestrian, we've done what? Is there a 5th? Is there a 5th? I don't know. I don't know that there is a 5th. I don't know. Y'all help me out if you can. I don't know what a 5th would be, to be honest with you. Is there a 5th sport we hang our hat on that we follow? Women's soccer? Yeah, women's soccer. How about women's? Would you just group soccer? Madison says softball. Matt, I think some may have said softball. I think some may have said softball before we were terrible. Or equestrian. Okay. Equestrian. I think soccer's fair. Anyways. Mark Ryan with an intriguing question today for me. So I'm sure he'll talk about that on his show today. It looks like Tennessee just picked a commitment 4-star quarterback. Jake Merklinger has committed to Tennessee. So, yep, Heupel's got it rolling in regards to quarterbacks, no doubt. Loading up on the QBs. Anyways, 843-790-3377. Guys, I tell you what, intriguing about this weekend, sticking with baseball, the downfall of the Mississippi State program is just wildly fascinating. I mean, this is a team that won the national title 2 years ago. They have now lost 17 straight SEC games dating back to last season. They have a 14.98 ERA in SEC play. So just a team that is reeling. Lynn Turner with a fair question. If baseball is number 2, why 10,000 plus average attendance at women's basketball and 5,000 at most in baseball? Well, Lynn, Founders Park only seats 8,000 people. So that's one reason. And we have more than 5,000 people. We have 8,000 show up when it's sold out. I will say this. Here's where I think this can be measured. I mean, if you want to have the conversation, we can have the conversation, a tough conversation. I think the hierarchy convo can also be measured by if the sports, last year I think fan interest continued. Did we sell out Founders Park? No. But I think a lot of like the hierarchy has to do as well with like what moves the needle. And also, too, it's a preference thing. So, Lynn, if you like women's basketball more than baseball, if you're not a baseball person, I think you'd probably put women's basketball number 2. I'm more of a baseball guy. I don't think that's even a secret. I don't think it's even a secret. I'm more of a baseball guy. And if both were not good, where's there going to be more fan interest? What moves the needle more? Baseball or women's basketball? Just keeping it a buck, man. Just keeping it a buck. Before Dawn Staley, women's basketball at South Carolina, I think most people didn't even know we had a women's basketball team, honestly. So I'm just saying it's a close second. Does winning make women's basketball second on the hierarchy, though? Like, does it? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just, yeah. So Austin Greer, South Carolina baseball is minus 180 tonight. Is that free money? I mean, I would take it. I would take it. But, yeah, I would take it. Anyways, it's a preference thing. In my opinion, again, I think baseball is second on the hierarchy. I mean, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. I mean, if you really want to have a tough conversation, listen, I think I'm putting women's basketball as third on the hierarchy. Men's basketball still draws, I think, more attention because it's men's basketball. It just does. Like, it just flat out does. So, people, I'll never forget, speaking of, Austin Greer says that's not true at all, Andrew. Women's basketball makes more than men's basketball. Does it? Does it? Does it? I'd love to see those numbers actually broken down. I'd love to see those numbers. I mean, I guess when you factor in how deep you go in the postseason, like you're getting compensated very well for like going to the Final Four, winning national championships, stuff like that. So, I mean, that would make sense. That would make sense, no doubt. But I don't know. Anyways, I that's where my hierarchy stands. But yeah, I think it's just all personal preference. But that's where I'd go. Football 1, baseball 2, women's basketball 3, men's basketball 4, and I said soccer 5. I don't know. I don't know what a fifth sport would be, but why not soccer? Men's and women's. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Travis has put some respect on equestrian. I hear you. Put some respect on equestrian. No doubt. How's our bowling team? I hear you. Yeah. I think they're pretty good, Travis. Lynn Turner, men's basketball wants a smaller arena. That should tell you everything you need to know. Lynn, I also think an 18,000 seat arena is ridiculous. Like I think it's absurd. I think it's absurd. I'd much rather go for a 9,000 or 10,000 seat arena, a smaller, more intimate setting, Rockets environment that is. I mean, because even when they put 9,000 or 10,000 in CLA, it looks terrible because the entire upper is or it's very spotty. It just does not look good. Like 18,000 is so. It's such a ridiculously large arena for a college basketball team. And yes, Dawn has sold out for sure, but we sell out 1 or 2 games a year. We don't sell them all out. They averaged what, 12 to 13,000. So even then, like, do you need 18,000 seats? I don't think so. But I'm also of the mindset that I think that you're not going to see stadiums. Yeah, and of course, CLA, they're not going to tear it down or anything. I mean, concerts, it's great for concerts, but I'm of the belief focusing on the fan experience, enhancing everything, scaling down on size, focusing on premium. I mean, exactly what they're going to do at Willie B. The days of 100,000 seat stadiums, like nobody's expanding stadiums anymore. I think Josh Payton made this point, right? Nobody's expanding their stadiums. So, and I don't blame them. I just don't blame them. If people are going to go to a game, I think you really need to sell the fan experience and what you can provide the fan, right? Versus just, hey, you're just going. You're just going. Like, so there's a premium on it for sure. But Oscar just makes ticket prices way more expensive. Well, Austin, the people that are going are spending money anyways. So going to a game at this point is turning into like a luxury. Like it's turning into a premium thing versus, and I mean, I don't think they should try to obviously price out the common fan. That is not at all what I'm saying, but it's just the direction that stadiums are going. Granted, to be fair, one of my arguments used to be you're not selling out the stadium anyways, and Willie B last year was packed. So to be fair, I mean, I would have no problems that they didn't change Willie B at all. I'd have no problem with that, but I'm pretty sure, don't we rank at the bottom of the SEC when it comes to like luxury suites and stuff like that? We're lacking there. We are lacking there. So I don't think it'd be the worst idea to enhance that. I don't think it'd be the worst idea to improve that. So, but I mean, Willie B is obviously a fantastic venue, guys. It's one of the best venues in college football. But I mean, I haven't met a single person that doesn't disagree the fact that CLA is just way too big. It's just way too freaking big. 18,000 is absurd, man. 18,000 is crazy. To be fair, though, if the men's basketball program was doing what Dawn Staley's doing, it'd be packed. I mean, there's no question, because Gamecock fans love a winner more than they love anything. Big series this weekend, Austin. Thank you for bringing it up. LSU and Tennessee. What a series we've got going on. Also, guys, I don't know how we've made it 27 minutes in this show without me mentioning tonight, downtown Greenville, Carolina Ale House will be out there for the spring tour. That continues. 6 o'clock it gets going. Then, of course, 7 o'clock, we'll do the watch party for the Mississippi State game. Looking forward to it.
Dalton.
Here we go. Dalton, what's up, man? How are you?
How's it going?
I'm doing well.
I'm another year older today.
So, happy birthday, Dalton. Yes, sir. That's right. Happy birthday.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to call and sort of ask you what you think about, obviously some of the transfers we're bringing in for the men's basketball program. We just got that commitment from, I believe, that a starter from Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Minnesota wasn't, a top-tier team, but I like a lot of the guys we're giving offers, and I like a lot of the guys we're bringing in. Most of them were big-time contributors at the mid-major level or on, lesser, Power 5 teams like Minnesota. And I just really think that we're going to get this basketball team to a spot where they're at least competitive this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how you got to build this program right now, is through the portal and getting guys like the kid you just picked up from Minnesota. So, I mean, I love the pickup. I mean, it seems like a quality Power 5 body, and you need to pick up about 4 or 5 more of those guys. And I think they will. I think this is just the beginning. But, we'll see. Only time will tell. But, I mean, I think certainly building this program through the portal is most definitely going to be the way to go.
Well, do you believe that that this will be a worse team this year than it was this previous year?
Not,
I know
yeah.
You tweeted and.
Yeah, I mean, not if they can continue to stack guys like that. I mean, I just, I made the comments I made after the season just because you lose some guys in the portal and you lose G.G. Jackson. And I mean, are you worse than you were last year? It'd almost be tough to be worse than 11-21, right? It would. I don't think we're going to set the world on fire realistically. But again, I don't know who you're going to pick up. I mean, I don't know what type of players you're going to be able to land. So, maybe so. Maybe we can surprise and go 500 in year 2. And but I mean, I think it's all obviously going to depend on the guys that you bring in. So, if you can bring in some more quality Power 5 guys, and I mean, you look across, man, Furman had a good team. College of Charleston had a good team. There's no reason why we can't field a decent team. You know what I mean? So, but it's a little unnerving losing G.G. Jackson to the NBA draft, and Chico gone, and you will have Michi and Josh Gray and Jacoby Wright back, who are going to be Zach Wilson too, your cornerstone pieces. But Yeah, you just need to add more quality bodies. I mean, if you can do that, who knows? Who knows? I think the expectations, obviously, though, for men's basketball will be fairly low again. I do. I mean, I think if this team made the NIT in year 2, that'd be a massive success. I really do. I mean, I think that's where most people probably fall on it.
And then my next question is sort of obviously yesterday it was announced that Eli Jones will be starting on Thursday or tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I forgot it was Thursday, but he's going to be starting tonight against Ole Miss. What is sort of your feeling about that? Do you think that it was premature to pull Will Sanders out of that starting spot? Do you think it's possible that he could be slotted into that starting spot again as the Friday night guy, later on in the season, or sort of, I'm just kind of confused about why they just now decided to do this, especially against, a team in Mississippi State that is having struggles, not to say that it's a guaranteed sweep, it's an automatic win,
right? But
obviously Mississippi State isn't playing their best baseball right now, and I'm just wondering why they decided to take Will Sanders out of that slot.
Dalton, there's got to be a long-term plan in regards to this move, right? And I'm sure that there is. Because you think about the ripple effect now of how it affects Will Sanders. And I mentioned this yesterday. It's like, how does he win his job back? Or is it one of those things where he's not even necessarily losing his job? They're just changing something up for the sake of changing it up for one weekend just to kind of get him out of a rut. Maybe that's the case. I have no idea. We're not going to know until we hear from Mark Kingston and we see this thing going to next weekend, the next weekend, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For this weekend specifically, I mean, I feel confident that Eli Jones will pitch well. You ask how I feel about it. I've made it very clear that I wouldn't have messed with anything. I think that you're 24-2, you're 6-0 in SEC play. Why mess with what's working? Even though Will Sanders hasn't thrown well necessarily, I'd rather let that guy work through a slump versus now all of a sudden. I mean, we hope he responds the right way. We hope everything plays out the way we're all expecting, but you just never know, right? With that being said, Mark Kingston, I think, deserves the benefit of the doubt. This team's 24-2, best start in school history. They're 6-0 in SEC play. They've pushed all the right buttons at this point, and I gave my thoughts on it, my take, what I would do, but I'm not the head baseball coach. I'm not a college baseball coach, not even any way. So, we will see what happens. You make decisions based off what you feel is best for the ball club at that time, but I have to think this is a long-term decision. Like, there's got to be some plan beyond this weekend, right? I don't think it's as simple as, if Eli Jones pitches well, we're going to go to the same exact weekend rotation next weekend. I just don't know that's the case, right? I don't know, because you got LSU upcoming next weekend, and then you really get in the gauntlet of this SEC schedule. So,
yeah, I mean, the thing about our schedule, I think, is kind of concerning, is that most of the more difficult opponents are stacked, towards the end of the season, right? I mean, you start out Georgia on the road, Mizzou at home, then you play Mississippi State this weekend, then you play, the Arkansas, the LSUs, the Floridas, the Tennessees, right? It only gets harder from here, and I don't know, what you do, but it just doesn't make sense to me why you would, put Eli Jones in there this weekend when you have the number one team in the country coming in your backyard.
Yeah.
Next weekend, if you're looking for a statement, series win, obviously you don't want to be looking ahead or anything like that, but you are looking for that statement series win against LSU, and tinkering with the pitching rotation. Like you said, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but at the same time, it's like, Will Sanders obviously isn't playing his best, and you can't allow him to be a liability, right?
For sure. I mean, again, I don't know. The move is interesting. I would have said, you know what, we believe in you. You're my guy. I think you'll get it figured out. But again, they know Will Sanders and what he needs more than you and I do, right? They're in the locker room with him. I mean, this kid. He's been on the roster for 3 years, right? He's been under Coach Kingston for 3 years. So They know what he needs more than we do, and you hope this is what he needs. So I'll be excited to see him. And I do think he's going to pitch this weekend. I do. I think he'll come out of the bullpen. And
Well, do you believe him coming out of the bullpen in potentially really high leverage situations will be worse for his confidence and sort of worse for his mental?
Not if he throws well. Not if he throws well. I mean, it won't matter if we're up 10-0. If he comes out there and gets shelled, that's not going to be good for his confidence. Nor our confidence, nor Kingston's confidence, nor anybody's confidence. So he just needs to pitch well. I mean, I don't even think the situation is, I don't know that that's the thing I'm most worried about. He just needs to pitch well. So I think Kingston's going to give us a lot more of an indication of what the plan is probably after the game tonight. He's going to be asked about it, obviously. So I will be very, very curious to just hear. And I mean, again, it's just a fascinating storyline going into this weekend for a team that, again, is 24-2, 6-0. You think to yourself, hey, they have no problems. But, sure enough, there's trouble on Paradise.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we'll see what happens. And obviously, we all hope that Noah Hall goes, or not Noah Hall, Eli Jones goes out there and plays his best game, and we take game one against Mississippi State on the road, and we just keep the win streak going. But it definitely is interesting the moves that the coaching staff is making, and at the end of the day, you just kind of have to trust Skylar Meade and Mark Kingston to make the right decisions here, because at the end of the day, we are undefeated in SEC play. So, something's got to be working.
Indeed. We shall see. I think South Carolina should be able to swing it either way. So it will be a lot of fun to watch. And I'm confident going in the weekend. I'm also confident that Eli Jones will spin the baseball well. But it's, again, it is certainly, I think, the top storyline going into this weekend. And we'll see how everybody responds.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you taking my call, and you have a good one.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks so much. Dalton, great stuff. And happy birthday to Dalton, by the way. Happy birthday to Dalton. Brendan commenting on Tennessee's latest quarterback commitment. He says, I wonder how much they paid for this one. Fair enough. Probably not $8 million. Probably not $8 million. Trip Cromer, they have over a 6 ERA. They've got a 14.98 ERA in SEC play. So, and obviously when you give up 26 runs in one game, that skews that number a little bit. But, it has not been good. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. Of course, we got J.C. Sherbert upcoming at 1:15. Really excited to chat with J.C. Obviously did not get to touch base with him last week as he was out of town. So looking forward to talking with him. Also, guys, episode 771 of the podcast, it dropped this morning. A full breakdown of this weekend series. Also, great conversation with Braden Gall of Fringe Element at SEC Football Podcast and 440 Sports as well. He's also done work with ESPN Radio, Athlon Sports. Really, truly a fantastic conversation. Highly suggest you guys check it out. Gamecocks at the Dude this weekend. One of the best venues in all of college baseball, although we probably will not feel it this weekend because you think about Mississippi State, 17 straight SEC losses dating back to last year, and their fall from grace. I mean, it's truly one of the most intriguing things about this weekend and just overall, I think, in college baseball. Like when you think about Mississippi State and the proud tradition and history and the fact that they won a national title 2 years ago, not even 2 full years ago, right? When you think about that, I mean, it's just crazy the place this program is at now. And again, they enter this weekend 14.98 ERA in SEC play. Should be a great opportunity for the Yardcocks to swing it and swing it well all weekend long. Guys, we're going to jump into our first break of the day. On the other side, I want to continue to hear from you, more of your questions, your comments, your calls, and more. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Taking the questions, comments, calls. 843-790-3377 here on this Thursday. Again, guys, JC Sherbert, excuse me, he will join us today at 1:15. So be sure to get your calls in this first hour. Looking forward to talking to JC, hearing from him. Always a good time. Again, guys, appreciate you all tuning in. The TSUS Spring Tour continues tonight from Carolina Ale House in downtown Greenville. We'll have all the merchandise, of course, on hand. The Beamer Ball to the Moon 2023 Tour t-shirts will be available. Also, the Beamer Ball towels, koozies, and we'll have these free koozies to give away, courtesy of my old business partners, A1 Air Quality Consultants. So we'll have these free koozies as well. Going to be a good time. Looking forward to it, guys. Definitely come on out. Yours truly. I'm probably going to get there around 5:15 to set up, but the event gets going officially at 6 o'clock. And then first pitch, Carolina, Mississippi State at 7 on SEC Network. We will be watching the game. So normally I'm speaking on the microphone, talking to you guys. I don't know that I'll be doing that tonight just because the game will be going on. So I know we'll be all kind of locked in, focused on that. But it's really cool, the fact that it's a tour stop and kind of a crossover of that and a watch party, which I think is really cool. Guys, let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Robbie Davis, Zaxby's Hall of Famer.
to accept, press 1.
Robbie, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing on this Thursday?
Yeah, man, I'm doing great. Doing great. Exciting day for sure. Exciting weekend lined up. And, yeah, I appreciate you calling in. What's going on?
First things first, happy birthday to Dalton. Okay, happy birthday. And then also, I meant to do this yesterday, but yesterday was my oldest niece's second birthday.
Mhm.
So birthday shout out to her as well, even though it's a day late. She'll forgive me. She's only 2. She'll forgive me. But I kind of sort of am not shocked that Sanders is not starting tonight. Now, do I think it's a little too soon to be putting somebody else in there? Yeah. I mean, like you've said before, it's still working, so why do something? But at the end of the day, we don't have control over what happens. All we can do is sit back and watch. So the change has been made, at least for this weekend, as far as we know. And I definitely have us, I still have us getting the sweep regardless. My scores are 8-2, 10-3, and 11-2.
8-2, 10-3, and 11-2. Love that.
Because I think regardless of who we have out there, we got like I said yesterday, we got the pitchers and we got the bats, and we definitely have the pitchers. So I'm not really too concerned. And Mississippi State has been hot dog water.
They've been abysmal. They've been abysmal for sure. It's crazy. They've been awful.
So I got us taking care of business all weekend. And my prediction for the game tomorrow in the Final Four: South Carolina 88, Iowa 60.
88-60, South Carolina beats Iowa.
Yes.
I tell you this, I am very intrigued to watch Caitlin Clark. I'm really excited for that. I think the Gamecocks win as well. But
I think Caitlin Clark is the only offense they have. So if we, like I said the other day as well, as long as we keep Caitlin Clark shut down, I don't think there's anybody else on Iowa's roster that can guard or play with South Carolina right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. And the Gamecocks have been great defensively all season long. So, I mean, yeah, if they can slow down Caitlin Clark, I think we all feel confident they'll get the W. And, yeah, so, yeah, I mean, I doubt Dawn Staley and company at your own risk, I guess. But, I mean, South Carolina is a double-digit favorite in the ball. They're a double-digit favorite in the ball game. So, I mean, how much are they really being doubted? The spread right now is Gamecocks are a 12-point favorite. And the other game, LSU is a 2-point favorite over Virginia Tech. So it might be a South Carolina LSU all SEC national title, which I know we'd love to see LSU because we absolutely killed them the first time. So I don't think anybody would be all that scared of facing LSU again.
What we pulled off, what we did last time.
Yeah. So
what we did was not very, very nice, but we don't care. We're Carolina fans. We love a winner. So as long as we win by hook or by crook, just get the dub.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I think slow down Caitlin Clark, you win the game. But, I mean, again, I will say that the whole Caitlin Clark matchup, you know, if you're looking for storylines in the ball game, because, you know, let's face it, there are times, and I think when you're as good as South Carolina is, that things can get a little bit boring. And I hate to say that, but it is true. It's like, ho-hum, we're just going to go out there and dominate again. You know, I think the challenge of defending Caitlin Clark and slowing her down, I think is a really fun matchup to talk about. And it's a really fun storyline to follow along going in that game. And I think the Gamecocks will win, but I have not, as someone that has not watched Caitlin Clark all season long, I'm excited to watch her ball out, or just excited to watch her play and how South Carolina, you know, obviously builds their defensive scheme around slowing her down. And I think they will do that enough, but it's going to be a fun game, I think.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And I'll definitely be watching the baseball game tonight and rooting on the Yard Cocks as always. So I'm going to go ahead and get off of here because I know JC's going to be here in a minute. So I will talk to you tomorrow. Go Gamecocks and Clemson. Y'all still suck, okay? Y'all woke up this morning and y'all still suck. Okay? Y'all suck.
Well
all
said
right,
as always, Robbie. You're the man. I appreciate you.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
Yeah, man. Take care. Great stuff. Robbie Davis. And I think he was about to say be safe on the tour. We will, Robbie. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Guys, phone lines are still open again. JC Sherbert will join us at 1:15. We'll take a break at 1:10 right before he jumps on. So be sure you get in here. 843-790-3377. You can also text that number. I will say this, you know, on the notes of the Gamecocks will have some defensive scheme ready to stop Caitlin Clark. Do you not think Iowa will have an offensive scheme to make sure she gets open and she has a big impact in the game? Like, I think so. So that chess match, if you will be really, really interesting. Travis is looking at it from this perspective. Just because he doesn't get the start doesn't mean Will can't come in for the first couple of innings. For sure. I mean, Travis, you're right. Will can absolutely come in for a couple of innings, but, you know, it's definitely an interesting storyline to follow throughout this weekend, no doubt. Let's see. I don't know Austin, who are you talking about? He's only 21. Who's only 21? I did see Brendan Malone hit 317 on 104 at bats last year in the minors. Really good stuff. JG, I'm ready for Braves baseball. Are you? It's coming up in about 10 minutes. Braves season will begin. Really excited for that. Really excited for it. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. LSU, Tennessee gets going tonight. Really great series. Really great. That's really the headliner of the SEC weekend. The only the only series featuring a pair of ranked teams. Brewer Nation says, careful, Chris. James Reynolds might not like you taking women's basketball. No, I think James, James is a guy, I really value James's banter. I like his banter, his back and forth. James is definitely a guy, though, that is a diehard Gamecock. I mean, that goes without saying, but I think that, listen, I'm someone that I run towards the banter and the disagreement, and I don't want people on my show that are just going to tell me how great South Carolina is. Like, and I'll tell you this, like the convo I had with Braden Gall, for example, and some of the convos I've had, just some of the commentary I've had, the content I've made, it makes me even more confident that I will have a lot of success and will be able to cover the entire SEC fairly, or cover it at a high level, because I'm not going to allow fandom to cloud any or bias or anything like that to cloud my commitment to making great content. So, when I talk the Gamecocks, I mean, I take the fandom out of it, guys. Like I'm not, and this goes without saying, I'm not going to go out of my way to provide a positive spin onto anything that has to do with the Gamecocks. I'm also not going out of my way to provide a negative spin, but I just like to look at things critically. You know what I mean? I like to look at things with a sense of realism versus a sense of garnet glasses. And there are other Gamecock content creators out there that will stroke the ego and that will make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. And at times I may do that. At times my content may serve that purpose. My content, it may be something, hey, praise, job well done. Let's preach on this. Let's praise this. Let's talk highly on that. But that's not all it's going to be. And so I just thought Braden Gall made a great point. And, James Reynolds asked me where the inspiration was for my clip this morning, where I just talked about recruiting and the realities of, I was more so talking on just like how tough it is in the SEC. Like the fact that we're recruiting at the level we are right now. We feel like we're recruiting better than we ever have. We still have not finished top half in the SEC in recruiting, guys. We still haven't. We finished 7th in the SEC in recruiting last year, which I guess is technically top half. There are 14 teams, so excuse me. But we finished 7th. We still finished behind Florida. We still finished behind Tennessee. And I'm not even we got great players. All we got is all we need, right? But it just goes to show you how tough it is, how tough recruiting in the SEC specifically is. And it will humble you really quickly. I mean, it will humble you really quickly when you think about the fact that, when you just think about, you think you're doing really well in recruiting, then you look at the SEC rankings and it's like, well, damn, everybody else is recruiting pretty well too, I guess. So, and I don't say that to be negative by any means. It's just keeping it a buck, man. It's just real. It's tough. It's hard, right? It's just really hard. So, just letting people know that, it's not a given that we're going to surpass, we're going to surpass Tennessee or Florida, or whatever, you know what I mean? So anyways, I just like to create engaging conversation in which can be debated, can go back and forth. And I think that's what I do. And I think that's what I do on a daily basis. But for some people, right, it's, a James Reynolds, it's like, why does this feel negative? You should be pumping us up. My job, guys, is not to pump up Carolina. It's not. That's not what I'm committed to. That's not my goal. My goal on a day in, day out basis is to provide the most entertaining content possible around the Gamecocks. The team accounts, that's what they're for. Hey, Justin King is there for you to make you feel warm and fuzzy and pump you up and make you think Carolina football is the best thing since sliced bread. That's their job. That ain't my job. I'm not a hype man for USC. I sure as shit are not on their payroll to do so. So I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it a buck, as I've said many times. So to that point, Austin Greer says Friday night tickets for next weekend is $100 per ticket. Only 30 seats left. Wow. And I tell you this, Austin Greer, I'd love to go, but I'll be honest with you, man. If that's what the tickets are going for, I haven't even looked at them. But if that's what they're going for, man, listen, I've been to a lot of games at Founders Park. I will gladly just host live stream watch-alongs and save myself the trip down to Columbia. I may do that anyways. So I'll let you guys know what the plan is next weekend. Have no idea. We got to get through this weekend first. And again, we got a lot going on. So tonight we are at Carolina Ale House, downtown Greenville. Things get going at 6 o'clock, games at 7. Really looking forward to it. Very, very excited, guys. Would love to see all the upstate Gamecocks come on out, downtown Greenville Ale House tonight. Then tomorrow night, we are back out at Carolina Ale House, Woodruff Road for the watch party for the South Carolina, Iowa women's basketball game. Tip-off is at 9. Yours truly will be there. I'll probably be there around 8:15 or so. Looking forward to that. And also Sunday, guys, assuming tomorrow night goes well, which we all think it will, watch party for the national championship. Carolina Ale House reached out to me this morning. There's a chance, it's not official, there is a chance that we will be in Columbia. A change up. I thought it was going to be Woodruff Road again, and that's what they said, but they pitched the idea of Columbia this morning for the national championship. So there's a good chance. I know Brendan M. and Dalton and those guys, they're pulling for it. I'm down. I was never opposed to going to Cola. I'm down for it. So I will let you guys know. Obviously, we'll let you guys know what the plan is immediately after the game Friday. But, yeah, either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. Very, very exciting. Looking forward to it. And definitely, guys, come on out tonight. Carolina Ale House, downtown Greenville, as the tour continues. Let's see. Guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Again, thank you all so much for the continued love and support. Really excited for this weekend. Again, guys, tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday, this weekend series. I'm excited. I love it. I love the Thursday through Saturday series. I love the Thursday through Saturday series big time, for sure. For sure. We got J.C. Sherbert upcoming at 1:15. Braves are about to start at 1:05. I know we got a lot of Braves fans. In the chat. How about this? GC Supply Company, which is Connor Shaw's brand. They posted some pictures, and in one of the pictures, the guy is rocking a Beamer ball hat. Here we go. Let's jump to the lines here. Skyland, what's up, man? How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Appreciate you asking. What's going on?
What's your prediction this weekend?
I've got a sweep, my friend. And I'll be honest with you. One of the reasons I picked the sweep, this team right now at 24-2, 6-0 overall in SEC play. Mississippi State, we all know the story with them, 0-6 in SEC play, 17 straight SEC losses. Skyland, I think it'd be disrespectful to not pick this team to sweep. I think they've earned that right. I really do. I've picked 2 of 3 the last 2 weekends. They've swept the last 2 weekends. Mississippi State is not good. They're just flat out not. They're not good at all. I know you have to go on the road to the dude. I just think, though, you know what? I'm going to give this ball club the respect that I think they've earned. I think they've earned the respect. So that's why I'm picking the sweep. I think even with the whole storyline of Will Sanders, Eli Jones, whatever, I don't think the Gamecocks should have a problem this weekend getting that sweep.
Right. I think it's hard to sweep any team in the SEC. But you're right. Mississippi State is a bad team. They're coming off of 17 straight SEC losses. But, teams are, sometimes do. So I do think Mississippi State pulls out a win, but we do take 2 or 3 this weekend.
2 of 3. Okay. Which I will say this, by the way. I will say this. That would be a successful weekend still. I know some people will scoff and say that's not true. As you're winning series, you're golden. So, I mean, are you really going to be upset at 8-1 going into the LSU series? However, though, with that being said, Skyland, as down and out as State is, and you got LSU upcoming next weekend, I mean, if you can get the sweep, obviously you'd like to take it. But
of course, I want to sweep because of the brutal schedule we got coming up.
Right, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
My question to you is, when you got LSU, Vandy, and Florida, I think you got to win about 4 or 5 of those games right in that area just to say South Carolina baseball's back and competing with the top-notch teams. Of course, you don't want to go in and only win 3 of them and lose all the series. You got to win one of those 3 series.
Right.
So that's why I think this weekend sweeping a team like Mississippi State is huge, and finding a way to take 4 to 5 wins out of the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
it's a brutal schedule.
no, I mean, it's just the SEC. I mean, that's what it is. It's the SEC. But you know what? With how we've been playing, man, I think you got to look at it as like people have to play us. Not only do we have a brutal schedule, but if we're on your schedule's more brutal because we're on it. So, for sure, it's the competition stiffens up, man. But welcome to the SEC. I mean, it's not a cakewalk. We all know that. And Carolina's not going to go undefeated in SEC play. So, I'm excited for it, man. I mean, again, I think you're going to come out of this weekend at worst 8-1 in league play. Obviously, you'd love to be 9-0, and I mean, it's going to set up a massive, massive showdown next weekend at Founders Park, man. I mean, that's going to be one of the most electric weekends, I think, in recent memory. So can't wait for it.
So I don't like the call to pull Sanders this week. I feel like Mississippi State is a bad team. And hold on, my bad.
I was about to say, is that me again? Like, what in the world? That's you.
Yeah. If you cook in my house because it's so small.
Bro, I was like, I ain't even smoking a stove. Like, what is going on? Jeez. God, you scaring the hell out of me.
Anyway, I feel like Mississippi State's a bad team, and this was the week to let Sanders figure it out. Let's see how he does versus see if he can get it back together. But I'm going off of a hunch here.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Kingston about year 2, year 3 talking about, starting relievers, then letting the starters come in and play. So I kind of think, Jones goes for 3 to 4 innings and Sanders comes in after Jones.
Yeah, I mean, that would not surprise me at all. Just to change something up. And so maybe that'll be the move. Maybe Jones goes 3 innings or so and Sanders comes in and goes 4 or 5 and he throws really well, and that's what he needs to get back to his normal self. And then, next weekend you go back to status quo. But it'll be interesting, man. Again, it's a fascinating storyline for a team that's been so successful. I say early in the season, man. Do you realize we're basically at the halfway point? Do you realize that? Isn't that crazy? It's kind of sad, too. It's kind of sad when you think about it. But here we are.
I do think that Will Sanders is a settler. As he always gets hit around in the first couple innings, but once you get into the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, he's lights out. It's always the start of the game that gets him. I don't know if it's because he's got his emotions in it, or he's too amped up, or what it is. But it's always the first couple innings that get Will Sanders every time.
Mm-hmm.
So
for sure, yep, for sure. I mean, that's when you get a guy like that, right? It's in the first inning. That's when you try to get a guy like that. So,
but if you're going to be good and you want South Carolina to do what you want South Carolina to do, you're going to need Will Sanders' help.
Yeah, no
question. Well,
indeed.
I'm excited to see how it goes. Hope for a sweep. Want a sweep. I hope we sweep every team we play. Doubtful, but I never say never.
Yeah. Dude, it's college baseball. It's SEC baseball on the road, man. You never know what could happen.
All righty. Well, I am going next Friday night to LSU game.
Are you? Okay, nice.
So, what day are you going?
I have no idea, Skyline. I haven't even looked at tickets, and it's going to be a last-minute decision, my guy, or at least middle of next week. So I will let you know if I make it down there. So,
all righty. Well, I'll pull them through. You watching the Braves play today?
I do not have it on. I will cut it on after we get off of here. So,
all righty.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. But I'm going to let you run, Skyline. We're about to jump into a break, and then we got J.C. Sherbert coming up in 5 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and get him on.
All righty.
So, yeah, I appreciate you, Skyline. You're the man. Great stuff. Skyline got the Gamecocks taking 2 of 3 this weekend. We shall see. Guys, let's jump into a break. Then we'll have JC Sherbert on the show as he does each and every single Thursday. And then after that, more of your questions, comments, calls, and more. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we are back on this Thursday. As you just saw on the graphic there, as I mentioned earlier, the spring tour tonight hits downtown Greenville. We'll be out at Carolina Ale House right there off Main Street in downtown. Yours truly, again, going to get there about 5:15 or so, get set up. We'll have all the merchandise, the Beamer Ball to the Moon Tour t-shirts. We'll have the towels. We'll have the koozies, have free koozies to give away. Everything gets going officially at 6 o'clock. And then at 7 o'clock, a beautiful thing is tonight serves as a tour stop plus a watch party. We will watch South Carolina take on Mississippi State on the Diamond together. Going to be a lot of fun and what's going to be a really, really big weekend in the upstate, not just for the Gamecocks, but also for TSUS and all the events and stuff like that we have going on. So, again, really excited. And also excited, guys, of course, it's Thursday. That means J.C. Sherbert of the Big Spur of Inside the Gamecocks joins us once again. JC, what's going on, my friend? Appreciate you taking the time and great to have you back.
Oh, yeah. You're great to be back here on the Spurs Up show. Boy, I'd give just about anything to be in downtown Greenville, out on that deck at Carolina Ale House right now. I'm sure the weather's nice and sunny, and it's the opening day of Major League Baseball. Chris, I'd probably be there right after I got off this. Heck, I'd probably be there right now, doing this show with you from there right now. Boy, eating some grilled wings, man. Gosh. So anyway, I'm not, but it's good to be back here on the show.
Yeah, I was going to say, man, you're in Chicago. Happy National Opening Day. That's got to be like a national holiday there, I would imagine, right? Like opening day in Chicago. Are the Cubs at home or no?
Yeah, the Cubbies are home. They get started here in about an hour. The Sox are in Houston. They don't ever play home games at the same time. But certainly I think Wrigleyville is probably a madhouse right now. And one thing I've learned about Chicago is that day downtown when the Cubs open their home schedule is huge. And St. Patrick's Day is a much bigger deal up here than maybe it is elsewhere. So I've learned those two things, and heck, I'm all for it because I'm always looking for any excuse to have a mini celebration, right?
Indeed. So let's dive into JC. I want to start first with, believe it or not, the Courtcocks, as South Carolina basketball picks up a big-time transfer portal piece. Talon Cooper, who's actually an in-state kid, right? He said on his graphic he's coming home. I think he played at Dorman, if I recall that correctly, but from the state of South Carolina, averaged 9.8 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 6.3 assists per game last season for Minnesota. So a Power 5 body, if you will, as a grad transfer coming to South Carolina. What can you tell us about this kid? And obviously, JC, I know we've spoken on this before, that Lamont Paris is going to need to build this roster through the transfer portal. It looks like they're off to a good start in doing that.
Yeah, Cooper fills a need. I think this team this past year had trouble distributing the ball. I mean, everything from off the ball movement to making the extra pass. I mean, some of those things that coaches will tell you that's good basketball. I think when you watch him on film, the guy can dish. I mean, he really makes some impressive passes. 6.3 assists per game. I think he set a school record at Minnesota for assists. Lots of really good players have played at Minnesota through the years. In-state guy, he started out at Morehead State, which is the team that knocked Clemson out of the NIT this year. Went to Minnesota, I think about 9 points a game, but that assist number was really high. And, in talking to some folks close to the program earlier today, Chris, the word I got was this. He's like, okay, here's a kid in that league, which is a really good league, on a bad team, Minnesota, that put up those types of numbers distributing the ball. Plus, he's in state. Plus, they held off a late charge from Arkansas and some other schools. So they had competition for it. It wasn't like Carolina was the only option. They won that recruiting battle, which I think is pretty impressive given today's transfer portal / NIL situation when it comes to college basketball. So he makes things intriguing, and he's about 6'3", 6'4". From what I heard through the grapevine, based on a guest on another show, that somebody repeated to me today, the word out of Minnesota is probably not the best on the ball defender, but he's taller, so he can block shots, believe it or not. And just a nice piece. I think that when you look at what was missing this year, which was a lot off this team, that guy that can make those big time passes certainly was non-existent. I think this also helps Michi Johnson and Jacoby Wright kind of get back to what they do more naturally, which I think they're both scoring guards that can play point rather than true point guards. So this gives Lamont Paris a little more options in the backcourt, and certainly I think will be one that makes a positive impact. There's a long way to go as far as the rest of this roster goes, but a very nice first pickup out of the portal for the Gamecocks.
When you look at the women's basketball side of things, sticking on the hardwood, JC, I mean, it's been sort of ho-hum, business as usual, and I kind of hate to say that because it's the postseason, and that Elite Eight matchup did have some very exciting moments. But, you know, Gamecocks have been able to take care of their business and not have a ton of dramatics, at least late in games, and that speaks to their immense talent, what Dawn Staley's built, et cetera. But I think a really intriguing matchup tomorrow night in the Final Four, you take on Caitlin Clark, who I think just won the Naismith National Player of the Year award. And I'm really looking forward to it. I tell you, when you're looking at storylines, because I think we all expect, JC, that, you know, they'll get the job done, maybe have a rematch with LSU, a team that you absolutely obliterated in the regular season. I mean, just took care of your business against them on your home floor. But I think this game against Iowa could be really exciting, really intriguing as South Carolina looks to kind of scheme up a defensive plan to slow down maybe the most potent scorer in women's college basketball.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark, certainly an outstanding player. You know, most of the time, and this isn't all the time, because some of the time the best player can carry you, but most of the time when you're talking about, you know, championship level basketball, the best team, as long as they're not screwing up and screwing around out there against the team with maybe the best single player, you know, it doesn't always happen for the team with the best single player. Now, in college, it happens more often than the pros. I remember back in the 80s when Jordan was coming up with the Bulls before Pippen and before Kukoc and before Steve Kerr and all those guys. Bulls were pretty good. They were a 50-win team, but they run into the Celtics and get beat, or they'd run into the Pistons and get beat. And it took them a while, you know, to get there, even though they did have clearly the best player. You can flip that around and say, well, what about LeBron James? You know, well, you know, that's a good point too, because LeBron, I think, willed his team to a championship a few years back when he was with the Cavaliers. But my guess is, Chris, this game is going to have a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, and then South Carolina is going to go roll them. Because I just think that Dawn Staley has, you know, too many talented players. I think they'll have a good plan defensively. I mean, that's the great thing about the Gamecock women's team. I mean, they'll have bad shooting days, or they'll be off, you know, they'll turn it over or whatever, but they're so good defensively and they preach it and they're smothering. And you could tell Maryland played their butt off, right? Played well. By the third quarter, they're dragging, because you not only have a team that's going to be in your face guarding you, you're running waves of players in and out, in and out, in and out. So you're more rested by the time the third quarter gets here. So that's my initial guess on it. But you never know. It's the NCAA tournament. It's the Final Four. Caitlin Clark is a really good player. The team I'd be a little worried about is LSU, because I think LSU has answered a lot of questions this postseason. A lot of people were saying, oh, their schedule was bad, and that's why they only got a 3 seed. And they've answered the bell. I mean, they've responded after losing Tennessee in the semis of the SEC tournament and gotten to the Final Four. We all know how good of a coach Kim Mulkey is. Angel Reese. I think, you know, they're the team that would kind of frighten me a little bit if I were Dawn Staley. You know, no offense to Virginia Tech, and I'm sure Shane Beamer would love to see the Virginia Tech South Carolina matchup in the finals, and so would I, because I like the Hokies too. But that would be the team that scares me a little more so than Iowa. I think the girls, because if you look at it, South Carolina's a balanced team. You know, Boston's not going to put up the numbers Clark does. Clark got a lot of hype. I don't think the players on South Carolina's team really love that, because I think they think Aaliyah is better, even though their numbers aren't there. And so I think they've been kind of eyeing this one just about all year. So that's my guess. A lot of hype, some exciting moments early. And like a lot of the Gamecock games this year, they blow them out in the second half. Then we'll see what happens on Sunday when they go for a second straight national championship.
JC, Shane Beamer speaking to the media on Tuesday afternoon, as he does pretty much every week, but confirming what I think we all already pretty much knew, but to get the confirmation was great news that Jordan Strawn has received his 7th year of eligibility, and he will be good to go this fall. I think a huge boost to the Gamecocks defense on an edge position. I think it's interesting, JC. I'd love for you to speak on Jordan Strawn, the impact he can have, because he was a guy for me last year, and I'm sure for you all as well. But I said, all the hype and the attention was kind of on Jordan Birch and what he was going to do off the edge. And I honestly thought Jordan Strawn was going to lead this team in sacks. Like, I really felt like he was going to be the leader off the edge, a guy that led the nation in sacks in 2020. Unfortunately, he goes down with that injury. Certainly, it took its toll on the South kind of defense somewhat, but he returns. He's back. And now you've got that duo. You mentioned Terrell Dawkins, Jordan Strawn on the other side. I think while there's definitely depth issues at edge that, we'd expect them to solve in the portal, I think that could be a pair of pretty high-quality guys. Your thoughts on Jordan Strawn? Now it's officially official, right? He's going to be good to go. The type of impact you think he could have, and then also, again, that duo of Strawn and Dawkins, and just the type of havoc you think they could wreak this season.
Yeah, I thought that in 2021, I thought Strawn was the most natural pass rusher out of all those guys. And Aaron Sterling, of course, started in front of him, good pass rusher on his own. You had Enagbare on the other side with Birch, but I thought just as far as a guy that can line up and get after it and rush the passer and wreak havoc in the passing game, affect the passer, whatever, Strawn was that guy. And I think we saw a lot of that in the Belk Bowl, when he was out there and Enagbare had gone ahead and opted out. And Strawn got a lot of reps, and then, boy, he was a terror all day. Sam Howell knows who he is. You know what I'm saying? So it was just so disappointing when he got hurt last year, because I do think he was poised for a breakout season. Gilbert Evans stepped in, did some nice things. Of course, he went in the portal. So I think this is big. And you're also talking about a guy that's in his 7th year of college football. 70% of a decade, man. Hey, 7 years ago, Steve Spurrier had just got done as the head coach at Carolina. Will Muschamp was in his first year. And this guy's come a long way. He's a great success story. I think he's got NFL potential. So this is it. This is it for him. So whereas had he been like a freshman that had an ACL, sometimes those younger guys take a little while to get back. I think he's going to be doubly motivated and not not having any lingering mental things about the knee that maybe a younger guy would have. You ever watch the NFL? They're not ever sitting there talking about, oh, well, he's got to work his way back for a year or whatever. That's more a college thing. Jordan's older than a lot of NFL players. So I think he'll do some good things. And it's so good and big for this group to have him back. And then you mentioned Dawkins. I think he's the linchpin, one of the most important. You talk about important players for the spring. I think he's one of the most important players this spring because, he's a guy that was supposed to give depth last year. He got hurt in the same game Jordan Strawn did and never came back. Was never 100%. You just didn't know what to think about him. Coming over from NC State, he has had some production during his time with the Wolfpack, just has really never stayed healthy. So, you get 6'4", 260-pound guy in his 5th year that can stay healthy. All of a sudden, you start talking about it. You're like, well, you got those two as your starters. Desmond Umeozulu is going to be really, 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 really good. And him coming in early was huge for this program and this team. And so then, on the other side, you got a Tyreek Johnson who's in his 5th or 6th year. Brian Thomas Jr. had some snaps last year. I don't think it's ideal to have him out there a bunch because he's still undersized, but he's a good player. And so all of a sudden, and then you get whatever you get in the portal, which could be, somebody that's good or somebody that's just a role player. But then all of a sudden you start thinking about it and you're like, well, that's not as dire as maybe it once seemed. So Strawn and Dawkins to me were the two keys all along with sort of combating the unfortunate portal guys that left in Birch and Edmond.
Now, when you talk spring ball, JC, obviously we hear the typical names: Spencer Rattler, Juice Wells. The defensive side, Nick Emmanwori. Some of the more popular names, if you will. Is there anybody that you're hearing about that's standing out that maybe fans would stop and say, oh, I haven't heard that guy's name, or that's a new guy, newcomer? I mean, is there just anybody that we're hearing about in spring ball that is maybe turning some heads, catching the attention of the head coaches, catching the attention of their teammates? Anybody in particular that, I know you mentioned like Lenoris Sellers this morning. Just anybody in particular that you've heard about that's making impressions in the spring?
Yeah, I mean, Lenore Sellers, likely, hopefully, will not be the starting quarterback this year because, and I say that out of respect for Rattler and Doty and the hope that there's not injuries, right? But the things he's done are legit. I mean, you run 4.5 at 235 pounds. You're 6'3". You've got a great arm. He's just kind of learning his way, but there's tangible reasons. It's not just, he was great at South Florence, and so therefore he's the in-state guy. Everybody's going to rally. No, there's reasons since he's gotten there that they really like him. But I tell you, I saw something the other day, reading some of the player quotes and kind of followed up on it. Jamal Weish, redshirt freshman defensive tackle from Miami, wasn't with the team for a while last year, came in early, got back to it. If you ever look at a picture of Jamal, and he's kind of there are a lot. He was one of those under the radar type of recruits in the sense that you just didn't hear much about him. He was at a smaller school. You didn't have a lot of film, all that. But man, he's got long, long arms, and he's got a good build. He's got to reshape, continue to get stronger. And I read where somebody had said, one of the other players had said, "Hey, Jamal Weish, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, yeah, that's cool. So I followed up, and that's true. Now, being behind Tonka and Boogie and TJ Sanders and Nick Barrett and, DeAndre Martin, whoever else at Elijah Davis at D tackle, how much will he play? I don't know. But a guy that's kind of built like that can also help your special teams. He's built a little like, a shorter, a couple of inches shorter than maybe an Ulrich Jones or a Clifton Gathers type of D tackle. He's that kind of big tree looking guy. Just with his arm length and stuff. So, I mean, that guy could block field goals or whatever. So that's a name. And, then on offense, Eddie Lewis, the transfer from Memphis, has a lot of speed. I think everybody knew that coming in. But what I was told was when you see it up close and personal, it's pretty impressive. And so, you start talking about it, and, you've got Xavier Legette, who's a 4.45 guy. You've got Amarian Brown, who's a 4.4 guy. You got Juice Wells. I don't know what Juice will run in the 40, but I'll tell you this right now, you're not going to catch him. Nobody's catching Juice. And then you got some guys coming in with some speed, namely Nick Harbor. And you start looking at it, Chris, and this receiving core is pretty doggone fast, top to bottom. And so that's a good thing. When you got a quarterback like Spencer Rattler, speed's his best friend because, he gets run by him or run around him or whatever. So, but those two guys really are guys I've heard about. And then of course, like everybody else, I've heard the Dakarian Joyner is a natural talk at running back. I have to give my guy, John Whittle at theBigSpur.com credit for this. He called this like a 2020. We were on the phone after Marshawn Lloyd got hurt, and it's like, what are you going to do? What's going to happen? Because nobody knew Kevin Harris was going to be that good. And Whittle was like, move Dakarian Joyner to running back. I was like, I was like, he is about 210 pounds, and he's a bigger guy, and he's got some. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. So finally, it's happened, and lo and behold, apparently he is a natural back there. So, and I will say this: a little anecdote there. Dave Gutschall, the former coach at Dorman, coached against Dakarian when he was in high school twice. I think Fort Dorchester beat them twice. And I was talking to one of his former assistants the other day. And Dave Gutschall at the time said, Dakarian Joyner is the best running back in the state of South Carolina. And if he ever plays running back in college, it's over. So whatever that meant then, I don't know what that means now, but I'm encouraged by DK, maybe finding a spot where he's on the field a whole lot. I think he deserves it. This is a matter of position. And I'd like nothing more than for us to be talking about Dakarian Joyner, getting drafted as a running back next year. Cause that's just that's a story I think everybody that loves the Gamecocks, follows the Gamecocks, can get behind.
Yeah, what a story that would be. I also love this comment, JC, from our guy Travis Rowell, aka Travie, that says maybe Eddie Lewis will be the Corey Rucker that never was. So with the
Well, that was
curious
a
case
weird.
of Corey Rucker, man. That was a
It's like
wild thing.
he gets here, he catches a 52-yard touchdown, and then he
Yeah.
just bolts.
That's
It's
all
like,
she
hey,
wrote. That's all she
yeah,
wrote.
it just shows up and bolts.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. So yeah, Eddie's I like Eddie because he's a New York City kid, and when I was doing national recruiting, I loved when those kids were good because you just it's a challenge to be a football player in the city because there's not a lot of fields and room to run around. I mean, I guess you go down to Central Park and run around or something, but it's so basketball oriented, and there's so many great athletes. And he came out of Harlem, New York, and went to a prep school, went to Rutgers, then Memphis, and he's on his third school now. So, and New Pete Limbo, of course. And I think as a receiver and also as a punt returner, the Gamecocks have to replace Josh Van at punt return. Eddie Lewis could be a guy that we're all talking about next year.
Yeah. Let's move to the recruiting side of things, JC, because a big announcement tomorrow. Blake Franks, offensive lineman out of Greenville, South Carolina, Greenville High School, a 2024 prospect, 3-star player, 6'5", 310 pounds. But you look at his team list, South Carolina, the Clemson Tigers, Alabama, Auburn, Florida. And it looks like the Gamecocks are in good position to land him again tomorrow at 3:45. He will make his announcement. What can you tell us about Blake Franks and his upcoming decision tomorrow?
He's a big and powerful offensive lineman that could play tackle or guard. The reason I would project him as a guard right now, Chris, is you look at who else South Carolina's getting in the class, or who's they've gotten in Pringle. They're probably, they're the odds-on favorite to get Josiah Thompson. Those are two of the top tackles in the country, but sometimes things work out, and you may end up seeing Franks as the right tackle or the left tackle here in a couple of years. You just never know at this position. But powerful is kind of the adjective I would use with this guy. And when you talk about him maybe being a guard, you start thinking about road grading and getting behind him and running. I mean, he's just a massive individual. Recruiting wise, this, and some people may say, oh, it's just a 3-star, whatever. I don't care, because when you go head to head with your in-state rival and you win, I don't care if it's a guy that's, a backup long snapper. You always want to win those battles, right? And this is a kid from Greenville High School. Let me repeat myself. Greenville High School. And this will be the second Greenville High School Red Raider in this class. Now, Clemson did not offer or recruit Mazio Bennett very hard, but they did want Franks. And so going into Clemson's backyard, they've done it to Carolina enough with kids around Columbia. Antonio Williams comes to mind, right? That's a big-time statement, I think, as far as the recruiting momentum in-state specifically that Shane Beamer and his staff have built. And also, you really got to tip your hat to Lonnie Teasley. I mean, he Greg Atkins, of course, was the full-time coach until Teasley took over. Guys like Big Tree Babalade last year, Marky Anderson, he kept to the boat. Lonnie was really heavily involved with all those guys, and he's just picked it right back up and is on pace to sign yet another elite offensive line class on paper. So, you got to give Lonnie Teasley a lot of credit for that. And for also, quite frankly, the line got better and better as the year went on last year with him coaching it. So I think Shane Beamer made a sneaky good hire right there by promoting him from within. And, you start talking about him getting this guy and then the S Pringle and then Thompson, I guarantee you, Chris, anybody else or in a normal situation, Spurrier era, whatever, you can bet Cam Pringle and Blake Franks both are going to Clemson because Woodland has always sent kids to Clemson, and Marquis Anderson too, for that matter. They've all Dorman, Woodland, and Greenville. I mean, Clemson should get everybody they want out of those. I know Carolina's gotten. You go with back to Nathan Pepper, Noah Whiteside, whatever. They've gotten kids out of Greenville before, but never Woodland, and Dorman was a 20-year drought. So, man, you just have to think like Lonnie Teasley, Sam Searby, the graduate assistant down there, Greg Atkins, whoever's kind of that group that's recruiting offensive linemen, they're really doing something special right now and reversing a lot of negative narratives that have kind of plagued the program for decades. So that's it's more than just getting a 3-star offensive lineman on Friday. I think if the Gamecocks, as expected, do land him.
Now, moving into baseball, JC, big series starting tonight in Starkville at the Dude, a.k.a. Dudy Noble Stadium, one of the best venues for college baseball. The Gamecocks take on Mississippi State. And a fascinating storyline going into it, right, JC, with the announcement yesterday. Eli Jones will get the baseball tonight. Will Sanders being bumped out of that Game 1 slot. Will he pitch tonight? Will he pitch tomorrow night? Will he pitch it all this weekend? We shall see. But it's obvious Mark Kingston and company, who have pushed all the right buttons at this point in the season, they want to implement some sort of shakeup for Will Sanders because, I saw a stat yesterday, JC, that really put it in perspective in regard to his struggles in SEC play. Will Sanders has allowed 9 earned runs in 10 1/3 innings pitched in SEC play. And, that's surprising. I don't think any of us saw that coming. It's really surprising the Gamecocks are 6-0 in conference play with his numbers being that bad. But obviously a shakeup, trying to change things up a bit. Just your overall thoughts on the role that plays this weekend and just thoughts on the overall move as Mark Kingston and company obviously try to get their ace of the staff, Will Sanders, going.
I just hear your voice in my head, Chris. I saw the video the other day. You're quoting Bull Durham, I think, don't F with a winning streak.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where I'm like, I think it was Bull Durham. I think that's what you're quoting. But
Durham,
anyway, I at the same time, I do think Mark Kingston deserves the benefit of the doubt. He and Justin Parker and Monty Lee have made a lot of good moves this season, obviously. Eli Jones is certainly capable. And I think what they want to Will, I don't know that Will Sanders is being punted out of the starting rotation necessarily. I think what they want, because it's a Thursday, Saturday series. So let's say on Friday you just moved Noah Hall up, and then you moved Mahoney up, and then you moved Sanders to Saturday. You're really not giving Hall and Mahoney as much rest as they need, right? Mm-hmm. You're kind of short notice. And so what do? I think, what you probably want to do is just skip it. Skip Sanders this week. Maybe if you need him out of the bullpen or something, he comes in, but let him rest, let him kind of recalibrate, and then, set your rotation for next week, however you want it. Maybe he does slide to Saturday then, because at that point it's a little different. But, I think this was needed. I think it's been coming. He's too good to be giving up the runs he's given. There's something up there. And sometimes that's, you go to the bench and you come back. Sometimes that's what it takes. You need that time to kind of watch and see and kind of get your feel. I mean, it happens in all sports. It happens in football. During the Spurrier era, we saw it with Blake Mitchell just about every year, right? Old Blake would get benched, and then he comes back at the end of the year. He's dealing. So I think sometimes that's good for a player, especially when they're not really playing up to their capabilities. And so I don't think we've heard the last of Will Sanders, but it would slightly surprise me, though, Chris, if he does pitch this weekend. And it would really surprise me if he came in tonight. I don't think it's one of those things where they're planning on, okay, well, if Eli starts to struggle, we're immediately going with Will. I think they really would like for him to kind of recalibrate, rest up, and then, see where he lands and where things stand next week with LSU.
JC, I just realized, by the way, since we did not chat last week, you and I have not spoken since, the last time we spoke here on the airwaves. The Gamecocks were just beginning SEC play. So I've got to get your thoughts as we sit here today. Now, I mean, a lot's changed since then, right? The Gamecocks are 24-2. They are off to their best start in school history, right? 6-0 in SEC play, ranked in the top 10. I know a lot of us thought this would be an improved ball club with all the changes and the pieces you picked up in the portal and adding Monty Lee to the staff. But, I mean, JC, this just feels like a dream start, right? I mean, 6-0 in SEC play. We're undefeated in SEC play since you and I last spoke. It's been incredible to watch this team as they continue to just find ways to win ball games.
Yeah, it's not so much that they're winning, Chris. It's how they're winning and kind of the feel you get. You've got things where they just tattoo teams like they did Citadel last night, or and then you got or I'm sorry, 2 nights ago. And then you got situations where they're behind and come back and win anyway, right? Um, you have guys up and down the lineup that may go into slumps, but then fight it off and come back and do something amazing. Ethan Petrie is one of my favorite players because, I mean, this guy, he may strike out or he may ground out the second and he gets pissed off. And the next thing you know, that's your butt if you're the pitcher, because he'll come right back up and smack it over the fence. I mean, he's a resilient player. And a lot of the other guys are too. Going back, and I go back to this moment sometimes in baseball seasons, and there may be a moment that comes up where things go bad. Don't get me wrong. There's these moments in games where you kind of just feel like, well, that's when it turned. And I keep going back to the Clemson series, down 7-3. You'd lost the night before in Greenville. You're coming in, and then Carson Hornig, who is in a slump, knocks it over the fence. And then it's kind of a sandwich situation there. So that's the bottom layer. The top layer, Cole Messina hits one that still hasn't landed. He hit it to Vietnam, man. I mean, unbelievable. And at that moment, you're like, this is kind of like Tanner's teams. That's what they would do. Not only are they going to come back and get that little lead and try to hold on, they're going to keep coming after you, and they're going to smack it to Vietnam, if they can. And time and time again this season, no matter what's happened, what adversity they faced or whatever, I thought they were done. I've turned it off twice the last 2 opening games. I thought Georgia had them. I turned it off, and I probably turn it off tonight if they're down late, just for
just I was
whatever.
Keep it going.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
Keep it going.
Yeah,
superstition there. But and they come back and win, and then the Missouri, I definitely turned it off because I didn't really like the announcer, number one, and number two, it was 8-5, and I was by a pool in Florida. It's like, I'm just going to sit here and have my adult beverage and sulk. And lo and behold, I picked up my phone. I'm on this group text with a lot of good Gamecocks. I had 24 text messages that I hadn't read, and I was like, well, that girl I used to date about 3 years ago, I blocked her number, so I know it's not that. So I said, we probably won because that group text is probably going crazy. And lo and behold, 9-8, I had to call Phil and get the play-by-play because I didn't know what had happened. But certainly moments like that have been, I think, facilitated by this team's resilience that they started to show way back then against Clemson, even back to the Penn series when they faced some adversity. And I say all the time, it's like life. Things are going to happen to you. You cannot avoid it. In sports, bad things are going to happen. The winners in life and sports and everything else are the ones that can handle it and know how to overcome, that have that resilience about them. Because it's not always going to work out, right? But when you can bounce back, I say play like Gamecocks because most of the good Gamecock athletic teams through the years do have that resilience. We've seen it in baseball, the whole Tanner era. I think it's gotten lost a little bit along the way, but it's back. And so I think with that kind of gives you a lot of hope going into the home stretch of the season, and really a lot of hope about the Mark Kingston era as a whole moving forward. And you just hope they can keep that up. Like I said, I think Monty Lee deserves a lot of credit, but I think the whole staff does. And then the players, this bunch is a tough bunch. They're Gamecock tough. And I think that's been missing for a long time. So I think that's back, and that can give everybody a lot of happy feelings going into these last 24 SEC games.
And it's crazy to think, JC, we've practically hit the halfway mark of the 2023 baseball season. So folks, just buckle in and enjoy every single game. And of course, game one of a big game, or 3-game set, will get going tonight in Starkville. Looking forward to it. JC Sherwood of Inside the Gamecocks of the Big Spur. JC, it is always a pleasure, my friend. Great to have you back, and thank you so much again for doing this. We'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah, enjoyed it, Chris, and you guys have a good one, and enjoy the day. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, man. Take care. JC Sherwood of Inside the Gamecocks. Guys, we are going to jump into one final break. On the other side, though, we'll close out the show with more of your questions, your comments, your calls, and more. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Final 5 minutes or so in the Daily Crow, taking the questions, comments, calls as well. Thursday, March the 30th, 2023. Really excited for the game tonight. Gamecocks taking on Mississippi State in game one of a big SEC weekend. Ooh, Mary says 156 days until football. JG Lashley, the 2023 tour shirts are not on the website. Excuse me. These shirts right now are being sold exclusively on the TSUS tour and our events, by the way. So if you want the merchandise, you got to come out in person. At some point, I probably will drop these shirts on the store, but right now I want to make an exclusive item for people who are coming out to the events. So that is the reason, JG, we are doing that. So appreciate your understanding. And again, it is an exclusive item right now for those who come out to our event. So again, guys, we'll try to squeeze in one last call. A couple more questions if you guys want. Somebody texted in, do we think Will Sanders may be struggling with a nagging issue or injury? I don't think so. Like JC said, I think it's just something to really get him recalibrated and get him reset. I think that's really what it comes down to. So I don't think it's an injury problem. I don't think it's anything like that. I don't think it's anything like that. So let's see. Braves are up 1-0. Love to see that. How about this? Jerry Stackhouse wins the Ben Jobe National Coach of the Year Award. How about that? Interesting. Braves up 3-1 now. Okay, I was wrong. Braves up 3-1. Very good. Wow, Justin Verlander already on the IL. How about it? JG, thank you so much for the kind words on the design of the shirt. I appreciate it. Again, at some point, they probably will be on the website, but right now, an exclusive item for our tour. Again, guys, please come on out tonight. Carolina Ale House, downtown Greenville. Looking forward to it. It's always a good time when we get downtown. I'll be there again. The event gets going officially at 6 o'clock. First pitch, Gamecocks and Mississippi State on SEC Network at 7. We will have the game on with the game sound on. So really excited for it. It's also a beautiful day, by the way, in the city. Going to be a beautiful night as well. Cannot wait to see you guys out there. And again, really excited for this weekend series all weekend long. Of course, we have the watch party tomorrow night as well for the Iowa game in the Final Four for women's basketball. Of course, I will update, or excuse me, I'll keep you guys, I'll remind you guys, I should say, tomorrow before the watch party takes place. But looking forward to it. Going to be a really, really fun weekend this weekend. And again, guys, I think it'll be a successful weekend. I think the Gamecocks will sweep Mississippi State. I think they also take down the Iowa Hawkeyes en route to the national championship. I don't think Dawn Staley's squad is going to have much trouble this weekend. Again, a really nice day weather-wise today in Greenville for our event. I think it's a high of 69. Giggity. It'll be low 60s all throughout the night. So going to feel really, really good. Going to feel really, really good. Come on out. Going to be a good time. We'll be up there on the patio in that room overlooking Main Street. Going to be a lot of fun. Let's see. Jacob E says, gotta say I'm very much looking forward to the Mets having a disappointing season. Our guy P-Dawk is fuming right now. Bruin Nation says, anybody else pick the new MLB The Show 23 game? I have not. You know, I love the show. I love Road to the Show, but I'm just, you know what it is, Bruin Nation? Like, I'm not a huge gamer. I don't find myself with a lot of time to sit around and play video games. I don't know. I just don't do it. So I will say this, though. I was thinking about this week, firing back up the NCAA football content, the video game content. That's been something I've been thinking about. I know, who is it? Jeff Gullidge, I think, in here that's been requesting that. So I don't know. That might be something I do. But either way, guys, content is bleeding out of the eyeballs right now. I'm just thinking I got so many clips on deck. all the events we're throwing, guys. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you so much. I'm truly grateful because for some people, or, it could be this time of year, you think, oh, it's the springtime. It's not football season. Things might slow down. There's not as much to talk about, not as much to do. That is not even remotely the case with us, man. We keep it rocking. We keep it rolling. And I just want to say thank you all so much for the continued love and support. Baseball season's popping right now. Obviously, women's basketball, even men's basketball season. You guys took interest in what was going on. We're throwing all these events, and it's truly just a blessing that we have an audience, that we have people out there that show love, show support like you guys do, and come out to the events and make it all worthwhile. So again, thank you all so much for the continued love and support. And on that note, come on out tonight, Carolina Ale House, downtown Greenville. I'll be there about 5:15, 5:30 or so. All gets rolling officially at 6 o'clock. Merchandise on sale, and we will watch the Gamecocks take on Mississippi State at 7 o'clock. On that note, guys, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Go Cox. Beat Mississippi State. Y'all have a great rest of your Thursday, and we'll see you tonight at Carolina Ale House in downtown